We have a fully packed hour planned, so let's get started right away. I'm super excited to welcome you to the very first Joint Forces European meetup of the Slack platform community, together with the chapters of Amsterdam, Barcelona, Hamburg, Prague, and ourselves, Vienna. We are presenting you today tools to help you stay productive and connected. To anyone who is joining a Slack platform community event for the first time, what is it? Slack started this roughly 2 years ago to support volunteer organizers globally to create their own communities in their respective cities called chapters to talk about any and everything Slack related. And the cool thing about the pandemic is, if you can say so, is now moving from local offline events to a virtual environment, we're able to create this pan-European meetup today. And I'll give it over to Ala to start us off with swag.
Yes, actually, let's start with the game right away. So it was an Easter, and so now we are celebrating Ramadan. So we thought like it's very nice to welcome the new members. So attention, everyone. It's a small game. So what I'm going to ask you to do. So we have a workplace at Slack. So this link, bit.ly, is going to be in the channel right now, in the chat. So you will click on this link. This will lead you to the overall workspace in Slack. And in there, you will put your email address, and so you will register, and you can get to any of the chapters that are the closest to you. So if you're in the Netherlands, join Amsterdam. If you're in Spain, join Barcelona, and etc. So this information is going to pop up right now in the chat. So the the fastest people who are going to join the channel are going to get very nice swag from Slack. We have a dedicated people who are going to watch the timing when you're going to join the specific channel, and we're going to announce the 3 winners just in 2 slides. So guys, you have around 2 minutes to complete the challenge, and I promise amazing swag will be sent to you. Are we ready? So hopefully we are going to have at least a couple of winners. So time is up. Look at the channel, the information, the links will be in there, I'm sure. In the meantime, I will just tell you a little bit about the event's housekeeping. So this will be recorded because it's a community meeting. We are going to share a lot of great tips and tricks about the tools and things that really help us. And we would like people who can't join to watch it later, and we would like to have it as a nice helping materials in the future for newcomers. So please feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions, but you also have chat for that, so you can just type in there. So, and we're absolutely fine if you're without the video, so don't worry. Even if you would like to ask a question and do it without the video, we are super fine with that. And of course, we would like to make sure that you're muted so that the quality sound is good, so you can hear the speakers as well. So, of course, we would like you to enjoy it. So this is the most important for us. And the quick agenda. So we have welcome message to you. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So it's a joint forces communities from Europe. Super happy to see you right now. Some of you are gonna get this swag. So really fingers crossed. And so after that, we are going to have some lightning talks for very respectful and some amazing speakers that we brought to you from different locations. And after that, we have one more opportunity to win some of the swag, not only for the new members, but also for those who joined us for some time already. And we will finish with the panel discussion when you will have opportunity to ask any questions you have. So this was very quickly, and I will introduce myself. So my name is Alan. I've been with this chapter in Amsterdam for about a year and a half. This started exactly when the pandemic started, and so all the events are online. So feel free to join. So the next event is going to happen somewhere in May. Stay tuned. It's going to be about public API, a little bit technical, but still. And I would like to hand over to my colleague and another chapter leader, David from Barcelona.
Bon dia, buenos días. My name is David. I'm your Barcelona chapter leader. This is our first joint event, but we expect to have a specific launch event for our Barcelona chapter in May. So stay tuned. Connect to our chapter channel on Slack, the one we mentioned for the swag, And there you will find more information about our upcoming events, and I expect they will be very exciting. And hopefully, when the pandemic is over, we will have them with a drink in our hand. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you Mohammed Badawi, our chapter leader in Hamburg. Guten Morgen, Mo.
Guten Morgen. Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm Mohammed Badawi, chapter for Hamburg. Started the chapter by the end of 2019. So it was a bit before the pandemic. We had some of the events in place. That's the second joint meetup. So we're gonna have like a meetup in 2 months, so it will be in June. So stay tuned, and yeah, I wish to see you in the chapter channel and be ready for what's gonna come next in June, because it should be something about tech if somebody interested, but of course everybody is welcome. And now I'm give it to Tom, so chapter leader of Prague. Hey Tom, how's it going?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Mo, for introducing me here. So I'm really thrilled to be here today to talk a little bit about our chapter and later a little bit about myself. So our chapter is a pretty newbie chapter. We're only here since end of November, start of December, and so far we've had one kickoff event, which was kind of a soft launch because I'm also brand new to this. But I see already a bunch of people joining in our channel. So I'm sending you all the wave emoji. Really happy to have you on board with us. So far, before the meeting, we had 69 members. I think it's already shot over 80. So that's wonderful news. Let's keep that up. And our next event should be sometime in June. It's still in the pre-planning stages. So I'm still getting all of the feedback from the kickoff and from other folks. So I intend to work backwards from you guys and bring you what you want. Don't hesitate to reach out. So now I'm happy to pass the word over to Nina, Mario, and Mike to tell you a little bit more about Vienna. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. To keep it brief, I'm just going to introduce Mario and Mike together with myself about the Vienna chapter. We've been doing this for, I think we started end of 2019. We are also 3 or 4 co-founders of the #1 business phone system for Slack called Yodel.io. So we have a lot of knowledge about Slack, and this is one of the main reasons why we actually started the Vienna chapter. And we already have planned our next meetup for May 12th. Really exciting topic. It's going to be about storytelling, how you can move your social office relationships with your colleagues to the virtual new environment. The link is in the chat, so be sure to join. Anyone can join. You don't have to be in Vienna or Austria for that matter. I can guarantee it's going to be really interesting. And now I think we'll have the winners for this work, right, Ala?
Yes, I was just looking because it's intriguing. So we actually have a little bit more than that 3 people. So I'm going to announce the names. So the first person to join Amsterdam chapter is Marty Hamburg. Hopefully pronounce it well. So please leave us your details. We're going to ship this back to you. Congratulations. In Barcelona, it's going to be Brian Ribeiro. Hopefully, again, it was correct. In Hamburg, it was Vlad Magdu. And in Prague, it was Kenny. And in Vienna, it was Johannes Nau. I hopefully pronounced it very well. So we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners. I'm super excited, guys. You're Speedy Gonzalez. These are your flashes in a way. So congratulations. And so please reach out to us and give us the contact information that we can send you this back. So congratulations, the winners. And this is not the last one. So we're going to have one more at the end. So stay tuned, stay connected with us. And I'm very excited to introduce you to our first actual speaker. His name is Joshua Hoffman, and he's from Amsterdam, and he's supporting Amsterdam chapter of Slack community platform. And he's going to give his talk about modern the new vinyl, how tools from online communities of the past can empower remote teams today. So Joshua, you have the stage.
Cool. Thank you, Ola. Great to be here and excited to see all the participants who've shown up. Yeah, so my talk is Modem is the New Vinyl. And what I mean by that is, of course, retro stuff is so popular now, and I'm a big history nerd. I love especially looking into the history of technology. So as well as looking forward, I'm always looking backward for things that can inspire or help me work better. Next slide, please. And so if you're not familiar with what this is a very old modem, probably an early 80s model. And if you don't know what a modem is, well, this was originally how computers would get online on the internet or talk to other types of services. And as you can imagine from looking at it, you have a phone there, you put your phone into this device, you actually reach over to the phone, people would dial the phone number, it would connect to a phone on some remote computer somewhere else. You'd hear a lot of beeping that you probably may have heard even now in songs because it's popular sounds. And then suddenly you would have this connection. And some of the challenges here is that you may be paying per minute because phone line usage then was not always free if you didn't have a close by number. And you might also be paying per minute for the service that you subscribe to, unless of course your company got it or your university, something like this. And this was extremely popular at universities. And so, of course, with all of these fees attached and things, you had access to email, you had access to this incredible information, even early forms of live chat. But you also had now this new thing to think about. And next slide, please. And this is disconnection, meaning, of course, that you can't really, for most people, afford to stay connected all the time. And this meant that even things like if you're paying per minute, you're probably not going to stay online while you're writing an email because you're thinking about it, you're composing it, you want to make something good out of it. And then they also had this early technology that I never used, but I read about, which was called Echo Mail. And this was like group discussions in a very early form. But again, you're not going to sit there sort of typing on it. You're going to disconnect, think of what you want to write, maybe write it by hand. They might have done in the old days. And then, of course, you would reconnect and exchange your messages. And next slide, please. So an early technology that was created was called Quick Packets, QWK. And this was an early form of batching up email. And it also worked for EchoNet. Now, the weird thing about the internet at this time was there weren't always constant links everywhere. And so the expectation was that when you send an email, it wasn't that the person would receive it immediately, because that was almost unlikely to happen, almost impossible, unless maybe you were at the same university. But it might even be 2 or 3 days, which is mind-boggling to me to think about, that I could send an email and it wouldn't be received for 2 days. And then that person might send a nice response and I wouldn't get it back for 2 more days. So there's 4 days in between receiving those messages, but still an incredible technology. And this got even more complicated when you looked at things like these group discussions, because the people in your local city and your country would be able to respond more quickly to the group discussions. And the people, the further away they are, they might be interested in the same topic, but they might take a couple of days to respond. And so you can imagine this creates weird problems that, number one, you can't expect an instant response. And you actually have to think about in these groups discussions that it might take a few days for all of the responses to come in. It was just a very different way of communicating and using information. But it had an amazing side benefit. And I was old enough to just experience the end of this. But the side benefit was that you would never have an unexpected email surprise. In other words, if I say for the next 2 hours, I'm going to really put my head down and work on some stuff and crank out some work, I know there's literally zero possibility that I'm going to receive an email until I log in, connect that modem, and check my email. And then I can budget. So this made it very easy to budget time, to say, okay, well, I'm going to do 2 hours of heads down work, then I'm going to do an hour of responding to email, and then I'm going to get back to whatever. And this pattern, I think, works really well today and is in some ways an antidote to this always connected feeling. But what it really means is not that I think you should unplug your computer from the internet or disconnect your Wi-Fi or anything like that, but instead that we should think around these expectations, that it makes sense to plan your time, schedule your email for a certain period of time, but that doesn't work unless everyone agrees and manages this expectation. So it has to come top down. And this is a big part of what we did at my company, Blendle, which I was with when the pandemic first started, is we said, okay, all of a sudden we're all working remote. What do we need to expect from each other? What's reasonable to expect from each other? That kind of stuff. Next slide, please. And so what we do is we actually ask people who want to participate in this, and this is today's latest version of Apple Mail, but works in most clients. You see there's an option there, check for new messages, and I change it to manual. I don't want email to come in and alert me or bother me when I'm not ready to deal with it. But it also means I now take the responsibility of saying, okay, I'm gonna have a minimum requirement of everyone. I will check email once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and I want the same from everyone else. And I want us to also understand then if we need a more urgent form of communication, then we have Slack, we have something we can get instantly, but let's really think about what can be asynchronous, what needs to be urgent, and so forth, and how do we deal with that? Next slide, please. And so a big part of how we dealt with it in the old days was this thing called netiquette. Now, you may have heard of it. It's been around for a long time, the notion, there are modern versions of it, but what it really comes down to is the idea that how you behave in the digital world might have different parameters around it than how you would behave in the real world. And nowadays, we're all digital citizens, right? Every single one of us has access online, social presence. We're doing this all the time. But in the early days, I read about this fascinating period where the first ones on the internet were the universities. And every September, the new group of students would come in who had never been exposed to the internet or anything online. And they would just suddenly be handed this tool. Here, you can chat with all the other students, you could email with people, you could do these group discussions. And it would just be anarchy because people really would just go crazy, not thinking about, oh, that there are these patterns to this, that people don't receive it right away, that written communication is not always as clear of your intention as spoken communication or in-person communication. And suddenly all these lessons that I had read about in a historical context really came back to me as we were entering this remote period, and now this new emphasis on remote working. I really like this one, but I think it's, as a tool, it doesn't matter exactly what rules you do, but you set them up and set the expectations for your company and your coworker and your colleagues. And so we did a lot of that with Slack. We came up with our own Slack netiquette to make it so that as our team worked together, we could also respect each other's time, we could respect each other's privacies. And a big part of that for us meant using status icons. So simply saying, yeah, I'm logged into Slack right now, but I've put the do not disturb or I've put the unavailable, and it means I'm unavailable. But it also means I have the responsibility to do the opposite, right? So when I know that I'm happy to take time to receive questions or whatever, that I set that I'm available or I'm welcoming questions. And so we came up with some simple things like that. And also just some context rules, right? Because we're going to do this thing where we're disconnected part of the time, it's really important that our messages have clear context, have enough information so that we don't have to do a quick back and forth of 10 things. Because if you think back, if I'm going to email you and it's going to take 4 days for a reply, I got to make sure I write a clear email. I want that same thinking going on when we're communicating in Slack, when we're communicating email now, because again, the clarity. Next slide, please. And this is a lightning talk, so we're moving fast. But this third technique that we came up with, and I found this fascinating. At one time, and this is in the very early 90s, although I think this one actually came out in 2000, you could buy this floppy disk from Microsoft called the Internet on a Disk. And if it's hard to read, it says you can surf it. You don't need any connection at all. There's millions of websites on this floppy disk. Now, how could that be? Well, the web back then was a lot of text. And so you could sell something like this. But it also meant that you could be anywhere, on a plane, on a train, in the middle of the woods, and you have access to this really information. Yeah, and I see some people commenting, writing email offline is still really powerful. I think it's thoughtful, you take your time, and so forth. So how could we use this today? Well, I still think it's really valuable. I buy lots of ebooks, I gather information. If I want to go somewhere and be truly disconnected, I can cache this data locally. So as a thought experiment, what I'm thinking of is like something like Wikipedia. How would I have like my own copy of Wikipedia? Well, obviously it won't fit on a floppy disk. This is not something that I could take home and use that way. But there are apps now where you can actually say, build my own archive of Wikipedia. And next slide, please. If you strip out all the images and you store it compressed, it would fit on a memory card the size of your fingernail. And so it's actually completely reasonable to archive large interesting reference texts and take them with you, and then be able to have this disconnected time where you really truly focus on your work. But there's something that comes up that's huge here. And next slide, please. And that is trust. we cannot allow people to disconnect if we can't trust them. So if you're finding that you don't want to see people disappear for a couple hours, really look inside and find that trust. Because for me, trust is critical. Next slide, please. And I found this quote: "Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships." And I really believe in this. So how do we translate that to a modern remote workforce? Well, for me, it's really simple. Next slide, please. It's trust but verify. And what does this mean? Does this mean like put spyware on everyone's computer? No, I hope not. But what this means to me is that you trust someone to take the work, deliver the work, and then you check the work afterward and make sure it was as expected. And if everything looks good, you don't even need to discuss it. You know, thumbs up, well done. So you want to find your way to build trust, but with verification. And so the 3 lessons that I took from, of course, the ancient times of internet is embrace disconnection, set yourself up so that you can enjoy these thoughtful periods of heads down time, define your company's etiquette and build that online culture so you set the expectations to allow this kind of work, and you'll have stronger connections, and most importantly, build trust together as a group so that you can really rely on each other, and you can have a strong connection even when you're not connected at all. Thank you.
Thank you so
Cool.
much. It's so inspiring. So we have many questions, Joshua, for you, but we are gonna leave them for the panel discussion. So this was Joshua. He's a CTO at Blendwell right now. Before it's SoundCloud and Tumblr and Red Hat. So all these big interesting companies. So thank you so much. And we would like to move forward to our next speaker that will be introduced by David.
Yeah, thank you, Ala. Thank you, Joshua. Very, very interesting. Now, let me introduce you, Jordi Fabà, co-founder at Volcanic Internet, that today will talk about how to integrate WhatsApp with Slack. Up to you, Jordi.
Hi, thank you, David, for the introduction, and also to all the people here listening and learning in this amazing meetup. My name is Jordi Fabà, and I'm the co-founder of Volcanic Internet, a 12 years old software development company with more than 25 people. We are based in Olot, which is a city just 100 kilometers north of Barcelona. Next, please. At Volcanic, we have the problem that our clients are using always WhatsApp. They use WhatsApp also to send us questions regarding their website administration, doubts, or whatever. That means that we are receiving hundreds of text, audio, and audio messages every week, which is really hard to manage them in a good way. We can understand that for our clients, WhatsApp is very easy to use, simple, and they have this application at just one click in their smartphones. But for our business, WhatsApp is not the right tool, and we don't really like it. Next. At Volcanic, we love Slack. It's one of our main tools. We started using Slack at the end of 2014, when Slack was just, I think, that little more than 1 year old. Since the beginning, we felt that Slack is an amazing tool. And the first thing that we noticed is that all the company stopped sending internal emails between the team from one day to another. So the sentence, everything was on Slack, was popular at Volcanic. I think that all the people in this meetup knows the benefits of using Slack, but for us, it's the best possible communication tool since many years. With its web API and events API, allow us to integrate the tool with a bunch of other good tools like Asana, or also connect our workspace with another client's workspaces using Slack Connect. This means that Slack make our day-to-day communications more easy. Next. So the solution seems easy, right? Could we connect them both? This will allow us to give the support to our clients from the Slack. So the solution sounds good. Is it possible to connect them? The short answer is yes. The long answer also is yes, but the WhatsApp paperwork is the main pain and not the development itself. Next. We have to use this solution only for our non-tech clients because most of our tech clients are currently using Slack. So we can connect both workspaces using Slack Connect, as you may know. Next. So we connect both applications using Slack Web API, Events API, and Twilio WhatsApp senders. And the question here is why we use Twilio and not directly WhatsApp Business API, for example. Because meanwhile we are in the process of WhatsApp paperwork, which takes some time, as you know. Twilio allow us to use their sandbox to start testing the integration and the development. Also, the Twilio support helps a lot with the process of verification with Slack. They have an amazing support that responds in just some hours, and it's very easy because the WhatsApp verification process, as I thought, take some time and they have some tricky points. If you are thinking about to use WhatsApp Business API, I really recommend you to use it through Twilio. Next. The solution that we have developed is very simple. It just communicates both platforms by passing the messages between them. At this moment, we don't have any AI platform or similar that gives automatic support for usual questions. For each new number message, the bot creates a new channel, a new Slack channel, and adds the right Volcanic team members to this new channel that can answer our client questions. So the integration at this moment, it's very simple. Next. We are still doing some of the last paperwork and account verifications with WhatsApp, and we hope to finish it in the next days. And after the deployment, we will add more features like a model to open a ticket for tech support or add a feedback poll at the end of the conversation. And that's it. I hope that you really like it, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any question, or just ping me on a Slack community workspace if you want to discuss any Slack integrations. So thank you very much, and back to David.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you. And now, after this lightning talk, we are moving to Hamburg. So Mo, up to you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Jordi. So now we're going to have a talk with Kelvin. Kelvin is CTO and co-founder of Ropar, and he's going to take us on some reflections and lessons in starting fintech business in the middle of pandemic. So welcome, Kelvin.
Thanks, Mohammed. Okay, can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Just a very quick introduction. So this is what we were trying to do. We wanted to offer a financial app that targeted not 55-year-old rich white males, but other people. That is what we have built, but I just wanted to introduce what the target of the company was. Can we move to the next slide, please? And then, yeah, so we'll just, a very quick history. We started the company in October 2019, hired a team in 2 countries in December 2019. We got the keys to our office in March 2020 on the same day that the German government said, go home, which was difficult. Nevertheless, we continued using Slack and some other tools, and we went live in November. And now in April, we're running. May we have the next slide, please? So just to explain, we're a distributed team. We've got some developers here in Hamburg. We have some more people, a team in Sofia, and then people in other countries, London, Copenhagen. We even have some people in Australia as well. So we had to, from the very start, set up something where we had some good collaboration tools. And when we started the company, we said, actually, it's the 21st century. We don't need people to work in the office all the time. If people want to work from a boat on a beach or something like that, let's let them. So then we had to make a decision. Next slide, please. There were basically two options for us, really. One was Slack, and the other will never, ever be inflicted on my team ever again. Now, to explain, about 5 years ago, I was working at a computer games company here in Germany, and we introduced Slack. And what I want to draw on is some of my experience from that. The Slack rollout there was not planned. And what happened in a company of 1,200 employees with about 7 game studios is that a lot of very private channels were created. And it was very difficult then to actually communicate. And it became a barrier to communication rather than an enabler. If we may just quickly go to the next slide. This is what I'm going to say. I have learned that there are basically 3 types of communication with Slack. And I just want to quickly go through those, some lessons I've learned, and then I'll shut up. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry, next one. There we go. Right. So the first one is the broadcast slide. You can see I'm a better engineer, by the way, than PowerPoint designer. The broadcast is basically people shouting into the ether and hoping that the relevant people are listening. And this can be really important. So we have AWS Nuke to nuke our sandbox. And we make sure that everybody is aware of the fact that we're going to nuke just by saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. If something's gone wrong, of course, if we have notifications are dropping into a channel, I don't know, maybe the message queues have gone wrong or something like that. And we have the integrations to inform the channels there. And then you just have noise, basically, with the Jira integration, which just dumps Jira ticket updates into a channel that absolutely nobody reads, but it's still there. If we may go to the next slide. The second sort of method of communication is where you have communities of interest. Now, it's quite easy to set this up in a way that you just say, oh, we've got the front end team, we've got the back end team, we've got accounting. But actually, my experience is that putting some thought into who the communities are up front does help to make sure that the right people are in the right channels, and you don't end up with 3 or 4 channels doing exactly the same thing. In these communities of interest, then specifically, you can have specific questions. So, where are the assets for this app or whatever? And then we have a specific channel which is just dedicated to customer services. So if there are a query from our customers, the customer service guys, if they're not able to answer that question, can just fire something into the channel, and the rest of us on the back end, we subscribe to that, and we're able to collaborate and help our colleagues. Next slide, please. And then there's the direct stuff. And obviously, as you know, this can be small ad hoc groups. Let's just come together. One thing I've learned is that you spend quite a lot of time going type, 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 wait, type, 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 wait. Actually, sometimes it's better just to press the phone button and communicate directly face to face. There was a British advert in the 90s for the telecom company called "It's Good to Talk," and sometimes it's essential to remember that a collaboration tool is there to help us communicate, and there's more than just one method. So those are the 3 methods: broadcast, communities of interest, and direct. Next slide, please. And then just the things that I have learned by using Slack over the last few years. Automatic notifications are great. They're really useful. But if there are too many of them, they just get muted or things get lost. Something I'm very bad at, because I think I'm funny, I tend to put chatter into more channels than I should, and that frustrates some people. And we should actually just restrict the chatter to 1 or 2 channels, lunch, random, whatever. Getting the number of channels right is hard. Too many channels and people go searching for information, not enough channels and information gets lost because people have to scroll. Something that I was reminded of this week actually is the Greek bot. So some of our investors have an investors Slack group. And when you join the Slack group, you have the Greek bot that says, do this, do this, do this. And this goes back to the netiquette thing, actually, which I remember from university as well. You know, the introduce yourself, remember to do this, I think is really, really important. And I will be deploying that soon. Remote collaboration tools are great, but I still haven't found a decent whiteboard app. And sometimes I just like to draw pictures on the walls with people. And sometimes you just do need to do that if you can. And the most important one, don't forget sometimes to actually talk to each other. Next slide. And that's it. Those are my random thoughts on using Slack for the last few years. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kelvin. And guys, I really know Kelvin, and he's really funny. So I give it back to Tom from Prague. So here you are.
Hi guys, I'm really thrilled to be back here. So today I'll tell you a little bit more about my personal experience at Amazon. I don't, of course, represent the company, so do please let that know. It's my personal opinion of what I say here today. So next slide, please. So before we started with Slack, we faced a number of challenges, like I imagine any big enterprise such as ourselves. First of all, like many other companies, we faced issues from COVID, from the lockdown. So we've had tons of users suddenly not on the site, but working remotely. And we faced issues with scale. So how do you move you know, everyone on the same page using the same products across thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of users in a massive enterprise across different business lines like ourselves? And third, how do we roll it out, you know, communication-wise, software via change management and push for adoption? So next slide, please. So the solution for us has truly been Slack. And with Slack, it's really helped us with its enterprise grid for a large enterprise like ourselves. So you can imagine if someone like Amazon comes in, adopts Slack with hundreds of thousands of users again, then you know any other enterprise can then go in, because Slack and ourselves, we battle tested and made sure it scales across so many users, as well as it's secure by design. So one of the things that I'm pretty proud of at our site that we've done is we've created site channels for anything from announcements to social and for facilities teams where everybody can interact. We don't have to juggle emails. We can just go in there, post the important info, and stay all up to date. So that's been pretty exciting. And we also have our own internal Slack Champions program to help assist in the rollout. So those are experienced users with Slack. I'm also included. And we are located all around the world to help assist our users get their feedback, bring it back to the Slack team, and make sure that Slack works as we want to in the future. So, and I'm super excited along with all of the other users as well to adopt Slack. Usually when people come into it at first, you know, they're not sure what's going on, what's happening. So the Champions program has been of great assistance in that. And I'm really thrilled about the potential of Slack for automation within our processes, helping to onboard new teams, helping to triage requests through things like the Slack workflows. There is, you know, again, a ton more potential via our own internal Slack apps, as well as external apps, to make sure we can all, you know, schedule meetings. We can collaborate with documents and just so much more all in one place without having to go to different websites, different tools. We can be just in Slack. And of course, in the future with Slack Connect, I think that'd be amazing for collaboration between our external partners and ourselves, all in those same channels. So to wrap it up, I think as personally, I see Slack as also being a digital HQ to help reinvent our work right now and in the future, no matter if we will be remote or on site or a combination of those two. And it will help our virtual employees as well to all be in one place as if they were in the office. So there's a lot more to come, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about Slack at our Slack channel here in the Slack community in Prague. But that's it for me today, and I'll pass the word back to Nina. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. We are coming to the very last lightning talk. Coming from the Austrian corner, I'm really happy to present you Michael. Michael is the master of no code and CEO of the freshly baked company called Founders Europe, where they're helping founders of tomorrow building successful startups. Today, he's going to talk about no code audio rooms. So Michael, take it away.
All right, thank you very much. Let me share my screen. I feel lucky today, sharing my screen live here. Let's see. Okay, so this is me. I'm gonna actually start my timer. I was told I should speak in about 7 minutes. So let's see if I manage to do that. So here is my Twitter profile if you wanna follow me around, and also you can see here who I am. So basically, I'm a tech guy that somehow started to look into no code for some reason, right? Because I do know how to code things, okay? But I thought, hey, there's so many people out there, they want to create applications or their own businesses, and they don't know how to code, and can we not help them, right? And no, we cannot have more developers. It takes time to create them, right? It takes time to learn these things. So in any case, I lately founded this company here, Founders in Europe. We're teaching people how to do stuff, but lately I spent a lot of time on Clubhouse. And today I want to talk to you about how you can get audio chat into basically any application. And specifically, I will talk about how to create a no-code application, a mobile application without coding, and add audio chat into that. And I will show you a quick demo, and hopefully it's not going to fail. So, let's get into it. So because I use a lot of Clubhouse, you can imagine I got excited about the idea of having this audio chat room experience in basically anything where it makes sense. Right, so you know this from Slack, of course. You can have a video call with each other, right? You can just click the button. Some of you like this feature, some of you don't like this feature because of certain performance issues. So I thought, like, okay, let's see what can we use, how can we add audio to anything basically. And here is the tool that I use, the no-code tool that I use to create the application we're going to look at right now in this talk. It's called Adalo. It's one of my favorites. It's also the app that I talk about most on my YouTube channel. You can create mobile applications by drag and dropping things together. You can do API calls, and you can, of course, there are limitations, but it's actually pretty cool for everyone who has no clue about coding, and you can still create an application. The application that we're going to talk about or we're going to look at today is basically this one. So it has a few screens, and it's basically Instagram. Like a very slim version of Instagram, but still I clicked it together and I showed it on YouTube. So it's basically an app where you can, let me show you here. Again, I'm feeling lucky. Let's see if it works. So it's basically an app where you can see your photos in a stream. You can follow other people. Those are different users. You can look at the photo in a big view. You can like the photo with this heart. And you can also upload your own photo. And I will upload now a photo of the founder of the company that I will talk about today, or the solution, this audio chat solution, which is Tosh here, just to show you that the app actually does work. It's not fake or so here. So we just uploaded something to the stream, and I can explore other users I want to maybe follow around. So I can follow this user here by pressing this button, and then I will see his posts anyway. So I thought, okay, that's all great, but can I not also add somehow audio rooms into this application? Because Instagram doesn't have this, but can I add this, right? Can we make this happen? And can I show people how to do that? And basically, we did manage to do that. And before I show you, I used a solution called Jam. And Jam is basically a web technology with WebRTC in the background that allows you to basically embed, like a widget, audio chat into your application. And what you can do is basically you can take this iframe, you can customize the URL, of course, because that's where the kind of magic happens, and then you get an audio room like this. And let's check it out. Okay, so here I will create an audio room. So I created here a screen. When you click on that, it goes to that screen, and here with this button I can create a room. And actually what happens here is I create the room in my database, in my Adalo database, And then I construct the URL for the audio room. So let's see, test room. Okay, so okay, that's my audio room already, and basically can already chat with somebody, and maybe someone will join my room in a second. Let's see, because we did stage this here. Yeah, exactly. So we have already someone on here that I can actually get on stage, and we can start chatting. Of course, I muted myself because maybe it would interfere with the audio. Exactly. So you see, it works already. Okay, it's live, and I can leave this room now just to be sure. So you see, it was very easy. And how did I do this? So I quickly go into this. So basically, in Adalo, and of course I cannot show you exactly the tutorial because for that you can check my YouTube channel, but it's basically a database where you have audio rooms here, and they have a room topic, a room ID, and the creator of this is a user reference, right, to the users on top. And then basically it's a web view, and the web view has here this URL with the dynamic room ID and with the name of the room, which is the way to pass it is like this. And that's it, right? And we create an audio room. And this is so cool because basically we're able to create an audio rooms here in an application in a no-code environment very, very quickly. And you can also add this to Slack, which is the whole point of talking about this today. And so how can you do that? Well, if you go to Jam, I was lucky because I don't have to code this myself. They created an integration to Slack. You click on this one, okay? And then, so you go to jamshelf.com. I might actually want to post this in the chat later on. Then you click on this, and then what happens is you get it as a bot in your Slack, right? And then what you can do is if you want to have a daily stand-up or you want to have a quick call, but you don't want to use the Slack audio for some reason, then you can just do Jam here, press enter, and then you get a room created in real time. You click on it, and then you have an audio room, and that's it. Right now, if somebody is funky enough to go to this room, and maybe let me really post it here into the chat, then you can actually join me now immediately into this audio room, and that's it. So that's how easy it is to create. Okay, I will maybe go out of this room. That's how easy it is to create that. And so I wanted to show you that you can use Jam in a no-code environment. You can create applications with Adalo without coding anything. If you want to know more about this, obviously, you can always check out my YouTube channel where I talk about this stuff because it's kind of my thing, my hobby, if you will. As a tech person, it's a very strange, I know. And yeah, check it out. And that's my talk, and I think I made it in 6 minutes 40, and I'm very proud of myself. So back to whoever's moderating.
Woohoo! That was very impressive. Also love the Slack integration because maybe not all of us are big fans of the Slack native audio calls. So really great use case. Thank you for that. We're done with the lightning talks. Before we jump to the panel discussion, we want to give you another chance to win some swag. Alan, will you tell us more about that?
So we are going to click because we would like to make an opportunity for you guys to ask questions. So just give me a second. So I will share the rest screen. So, but I will just quickly announce it. So we are moving forward to the panel discussion. So for the person who is going to ask the most interesting question based on the speaker's opinion is going to receive the swag. It could be one person, it could be two persons. Depends on how good is going to be the question. So for that, we should really move forward back to our panel discussions, and I would like to share my screen back just to show you all our amazing speakers so that you refresh yourself. But Nina is going to help you, so you're not going to be thrown to the bus. Yeah.
So, exactly. You have a couple of minutes to think of a really good question. So shoot your shot. I would like to start off and ask the panel, and maybe Michael, you can start us off with answering my question. You know, with the pandemic, having moved at least partly the office environment to a virtual environment, was there anything that really had a big impact in terms of any tools or new ways of communication or workflows where you see, okay, this made it so much easier to work from home?
Yeah. In the company where I was working while the pandemic was in full swing, and it's kind of still, but when it was new thing and everyone was a bit afraid on how the teamwork will continue on in this new environment, we already used Slack before, right? So we were already set up fine. But what we figured out is that we actually, and something that was mentioned before by Joshua, I think, is that trust people that even if they are not online, right? So this was the biggest thing. Like even if they don't answer, it doesn't mean they don't do anything. They do deep work. So what we did manage to do is, of course, stand-ups in the morning, right, at about 10 because we're tech people, and that's it, right? And then we let people do their thing and without trying to control anyone. So that was maybe the biggest thing. We didn't control them before either, but we were seeing what they're doing, right? But now, because everyone was remote, I was in charge of those people. I was like, okay, do your thing, do deep work, which you could not really do at work, to be honest, because there was always something happening. But this deep work allowance, if you will, or this trust, this was the biggest thing. So it's not technology; it's more like a mindset change.
Anyone else from the panel want to jump in and share something really impactful they implemented?
Yeah, everyone is super welcome. And by the way, there is no bad question or unacceptable question. So it's just, the way to appreciate your activity and to encourage you to give us your questions. So don't worry. Go ahead even if you're not sure if your question is interesting or not. Okay, so everyone is welcome right now to unmute themselves and ask any questions.
Maybe a question for Joshua. And you talked about a lot of tools. What's your process to test new tools and how to decide if you want to implement them for everyone?
I think it's a great question because we have this term analysis paralysis, where you could spend your rest of your life evaluating tools and never make a decision. So for me, I have a set of principles I use. I call it rapid software evaluation. But the first thing is, and I think a lot of people skip this step, is to really think about what you need. Right? Like articulate the problem you're actually trying to solve and write it out in a sentence and have some key ingredients that must be requirements. And then I'm actually not looking for tools that will fulfill this solution. Initially, I'll round up stuff and I'll try to disqualify things as quickly as possible because I have a clear picture of what I need and I want to understand. And I really look at three questions. The first one, what problem is going to be solved? What's going to be the cost of, what's going to be the benefit of rolling this out? And then what is the specific cost that this new tool will bring? Maybe it's just some training. Everyone will need a little bit of training, but that's a cost I want to think about. And at the bottom of that sheet, if the numbers make sense, then, we'll go for it. But I really want to look at it both from a value proposition as well as just simply, does it meet my needs of this core problem we defined? Because then I'm trying to avoid, that you get this salesperson on the phone from Salesforce and they say yes, no matter what you ask. Well, I want to get away from that and just find simple tools that I can really get a concrete answer. And, if it's in a large team, I would want to try it out first with a small group, see how it goes. And then what I do there is I do strategic leaking. So I mention to other people, there's this trial going on. And you've really hit it right when you get requests from people who weren't invited. Can I join the trial? Can I try the tool? They say it's great. And that's for me the sign of success.
Awesome, thank you.
Hopefully it's gonna be asked. Yeah, that's great. So of course we would like to give an opportunity to ask all the questions that you have in the audience. But it was dedicated to the tooling. So let's pick up something from the tools. What other tool in the space of instant messaging apps would you say inspires and competes with Slack the most? I can think of Discord as a recent example. So that's a good question. So yeah, sure, please.
So what I experimented with the team is something called a spatial chat. I think it's even called spatial.chat if you go there. But there are many of those coming up where basically you are just bubbles on a canvas, and if you move close together, you can hear each other like in real life. And if you move a bit further away, you cannot hear each other anymore, right? So, and this was very interesting because you can simulate closeness or proximity, right? So you can create like a let's quickly talk to each other and then move close together and then go away again. So that was very interesting because it simulated this idea of being in the office. And then what we did, we uploaded a floor plan of the office, okay? And then you can move around with your bubble. You can move in the office. So you could be in the kitchen, you could be in the... So people knew, if you're in the kitchen, then it's fine to talk to you, right? But if you're, so it was weirdly trying to fake, the office environment by having this floor plan and this proximity feature. But I think it did work out. But at some point it was too funky and we stopped doing it and we just went back to normal Slack. But I think it can work for some people, right?
Yeah, there's a potential in there, right? So Slack allows us to build lots of different things. By the way, some people were asking, this is an amazing idea to have the emojis in the audio setup, and so Slack is all about, like, having your emotions out in this conversation. So there is no emojis buttons on in Clubhouse. I mean, I'm using it. I don't remember that there's none. Right? So Michael, you can't have emoji in the Clubhouse right now.
In Clubhouse, no, but in Jam, the one I was showing you, yes, you can.
Yeah,
There is emojis. But in Clubhouse, they didn't have it yet. No, didn't add it.
Yeah, exactly. So I felt like, yeah, this is a very nice combination. Okay, great. So Nina, so what other questions you have from the audience?
I thought I really wanted to ask the panel what process or project management tool that aligns multiple departments over projects and available resources that integrates with Slack would you recommend?
Anyone can pick it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in some ways that's a little bit of a trick question, because many of them integrate with Slack and many of them can do this. But all the tools I try, we seem to just end up back in Jira as not necessarily we love it, but the one we hate the least. And even with Jira, you really have to put some focus on how you set it up, how you organize it, how you train everyone to use it in the same way. But the reason we keep coming back to this one thing you said was multiple teams, multiple projects with kind of a matrix of assignments. That's the one I find that is tricky in other tools. But with this one, it's easy for me to say, show me all my tasks in any project. And that's the view that people really like that keeps pulling us back. But I'd love to hear what others are doing.
Yeah, if I may. So I completely agree. I always end up back at Jira, and for exactly the same reason. It's the tool I hate the least. I think the question's back to front though. It's what project management tool works for you best as an organization, and then how can you make that integrate with Slack? I don't use the Jira integration for very much, to be honest, apart from just watching what's going on. I use the Jira command line to create tickets and what have you. But the tool should always be what drives the project management, and then how does it integrate with your communication tool.
That's true. So we are running a little bit out of time, but we do have one more question, I believe, here in the chat. It was about the trust. So building trust even offline is very challenging, right? So how do we build trust with the team members, especially if there are new members who are joining during the pandemic? I think it's a very important question, quite general, but yeah, if you have any comments and your personal advice on this one.
I'll jump into that one. So, one of our principles at Amazon is earn trust. So it's at the very foundation of what we should do with our customers, but also between ourselves. And the top thing that, at least with regards to Slack, that has come in is really make sure to create an onboarding workflow that lists all of your team's resources, as well as to pin the important information that your team might be working on. So that's with regards to Slack, but also combine that, now that we're in the pandemic, with emotional support, making sure the person feels comfortable on the team, and really just feel them, make them feel welcome, and see what are the commonalities between yourselves, so that you can quickly establish a good working relationship. I think those are critical, at least from my side.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think, number one, make expectations really, really clear, and really agree with that. Make sure resources are well defined, available, and you say where they are, but also give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Because we have so many ways to verify what people are doing. I like that trust is earned, but I think also trust can be expended. And when you extend the trust, then if someone gives you a reason not to trust them, that's one thing. But I think you just start by giving everyone the benefit of the doubt. But again, we have these technical tools to really see. So, if someone says, yeah, I've been committing code all week, but there's no commit history, well, then we have a conversation.
I would have one more question about this. Do you also see that you change the way how you hire people now? Because you have this trust topic way more present from working from home. So what do you focus on now that you might have not focused on before when you hire?
It's a good question. I think, for me, I often would ask the question, what do you need to be successful at this job? But I think now we ask it about 3 times and dig into the details and really make sure we understand that we're supplying everything that someone needs to be successful. I guess that's a big part of it. And then I think it's actually more impacting the onboarding. There needs to be a lot more contact, much higher touch onboarding to really get people successfully started. At least that's what seems to work for me.
Amazing. I think, Ala, should we wrap it up? We're already over time.
Yes. So first of all, we want to thank you everyone who joined and all of our amazing speakers for sharing their experience. Please follow them, find them on LinkedIn, ask them questions if you have more. So we do have this decision to make which question is going to receive some small present from us. So forgive us that we are not going to do it right now. So we are very mindful about your time. Lots of you are going to just continue your meetings. So we are going to reach out to you directly. And so we're going to have a poll discussion through the speakers like, hey, who do they think that which question touched their hearts? So yes, Nina, so please wrap it up.
Oh, okay, I can do it. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Be sure to check slackcommunity.com for any meetups that are happening in your respective chapters. You have the Slack workspace. You can reach out to us for anything, also to the speakers with follow-up questions. This was an amazing meetup. Thank you all for joining and enjoy the rest of your day.